Well, hey there, everybody. It's me, Gazbot, and today is day 53 of 100 days of making comics. Yes, that's right. 100 consecutive days where I put in 30 minutes at least a day, or 2 hours at least a day, or day at least a day. Yes, working on my own projects, comics, specifically my comic, The Horror A4. And today was a good day. I put in less time than yesterday, but I feel happier with the time I put in. Yesterday, I think it was like 3.5, 4 hours, something like that, but I was kind of hitting a wall, and I spent all that time on doing like 1/3 of a page, and I put up the image of it, but I didn't even put up a process video. I didn't make a process video, I think, which is weird, because I didn't have, it wasn't like I got frustrated and was like, I'm not doing a video. I was just like, you know what, I don't feel like doing a video today. Part of the reason, and actually I've been catching up on introducing Emmy's videos, and she talks about this too, I'll put her in the show notes, that like I like to work on my Cintiq, and then have another YouTuber channel, like some of the other V100s, or you know, a cartoon or something going on the other monitor, and to screen capture, at least with the APowersoft, which is the software I use because it's free and it works good. If I have it split screen, it captures it all weird and squished, so I have to turn off one of my monitors and only use the monitor that I'm capturing on, and then I can't watch anything. I can listen to stuff only. Which is fine too, but today I felt like watching videos, and so I didn't. Or I'm sorry, yesterday I felt like watching videos, so I didn't record it, and it turned out that I was having a frustrating day anyway, so it kind of worked out. Today, however, was not frustrating. I kind of broke up my day. I've been kind of falling behind a little bit on the other comic project I'm doing called Kid Switch, which is not my comic. It's my friend's comic, Keith Gleason, who previously did Hero Envy, and he's also working on Swamp Tales, and he did a podcast and a video show called, I think the video show was called Hero Envy, and the podcast is like the Swass Adventures. He does a bunch of stuff. He's a dude out of Austin. He does a bunch of stuff. But anyway, the thing I'm doing with him is a book called Kid Switch, which he wrote and created, and I designed the characters, and I'm doing the art. But, you know, it's a work for hire. He's paying me. He's my friend, but he's also my employer. And I owe him a page, and I got his check for this page right before eye surgery and the flea infestation and all that stuff. So I was sort of like, yeah, it's going to be coming pretty quick, and then it hasn't. So today I worked on that a little bit. All the roughs and stuff are done. I just need to do inks and colors. So I put 2 hours in, and I have 3 panels completely inked, which I didn't do a process for, but I'll throw them up here. And what you'll notice is some of the characters are flatted in like green or red, which obviously isn't final colors. But what I'll do sometimes I'll put the characters on separate layers from the background so I could reposition them if I need to, or for coloring purposes, so I could put like big gradient washes in the background and not have to worry about, you know, trimming the area with the characters in the front. So again, this probably comes from my animation background, because I think of the characters as being on different layers, being whether it's a cell, you know, in traditional animation, or if I'm using Flash or something like that. But what I'll then do is put a flat color layer underneath the characters of white or something like that to block out the background. But in the case of these, if I have 2 characters, I might use 2 different colors so that I can then fill those in. Doesn't matter. The point is, here's 3 inked panels from the Kid Switch project that have Christmassy, flat colored things, and that's why. So, this is that! That was this! But I did that for about 2 hours. Then I went for a bike ride. I had to go to the post office, take care of some stuff. Went to Target, took care of two scares. I was 2 scares. One scare was when I almost fell off my bike, and the other scare was, no, I didn't fall off my bike. I'm just justifying for my speech impediment, which I don't have, but apparently develop when I'm on camera. So, itch my leg. For you, I itch my leg. So then I got back, did a little housework and catching up on that kind of stuff, because the flea infestation, again, seemingly taken care of, but there is just a lot of weird stuff I have to like put back together, and like that, you know, putting the house back together kind of stuff. Got done with all that, boring, and put 2 hours, actually it was more than 2 hours in on the horror. I was standing like this, and like there's sort of a fisheye wide effect on the camera, but so I'm probably fine all the way up here, but it's low, so I always think I have to, hey, am I in frame? Am I in frame? Now I'm doing calisthenics. Oh, this is weird. It feels weird. There's like muscles on the inside of my thighs. Anyway, so I put in my 2 hours in the horror, and what I did was the roughs for page 4, which I had started yesterday and kind of only did 2 panels and got a little frustrated on. I did a process for video for it, which I'll show you in a second. and I finished the whole page, and I even changed the first panel. I still don't think it's like as good as it could be, or kind of what I had pictured in my head, but I fixed it to be better than it was yesterday at least. And then I banged through all the others, and right now I think it might be my favorite page of the 4 that I've roughed out. So let me put up the process video right here.
So once again, picking up from where we left off yesterday, page 4, doing the roughs, which, you know, varying degrees of detail and shading, and, you know, there's a good chance that I will take these roughs and go into inks. I was watching some Japanese language YouTube videos running in the background, not watching, listening to. Here I am messing around with panel 1, which I had such a hard time with yesterday, and sort of frustratingly but satisfyingly, I really quickly came up with a better way of having the feet be there. Again, not exactly as perfect as I wanted it originally, maybe not exactly what I had in mind, but way better than what I ended up with yesterday after hours of farting around with it. Brought in the map again to sort of see where the character's going, and then I was happy with panel 2. So going on to panel 3, same character running, just basically 3 different views of the same basic action of this character running down the street, or alley I should say, away from we know not what. And in this part he turns a corner and he's passing by some sort of street vendors and of varying degrees. And here I'm just mucking around with his pose. I had done, this happens to me a lot, and probably happens to other artists as well, where I did kind of a really quick gesture sketch, like almost a stick figure that had this great energy to it, and it really worked. And then I went to do a quick little cleanup, and not even a full cleanup, but just enough to be a rough that I could ink from. And it lost all its power, and it started looking stiff and weird, and I kind of just was like, fine, placeholder, I'll fix it later. And then I started moved on to the foreground, where there's this woman who's maybe sitting down, because otherwise her face would not be on that level, it would be more like her crotch. But then I went back and mucked around with him some more. And I think in a second I give up on him again. Yep, and then more foreground stuff, the back of some vendor's table and wares, to kind of show that he's in the middle of 2 different, you know, like an aisle or an alley, as I said. And this vendor I started putting together, I imagine him being some sort of fishmonger, as it were. A man or woman who sells fish. And I just put a lot of buckets and different things draped around, kind of like as though maybe 10 different fishermen came, and this does take place on the waterfront, so it makes sense that even though it's a city alleyway, there would be somebody selling fish. And this, I wasn't even sure what it was going to be. It was a podium for somebody selling something, a little small one, and then it became an umbrellas and a sort of mishmash. You know, I was kind of just making this up as I went along, trying to combination of making stuff up and remembering things I've actually seen in New York or San Francisco or whatever various cities I've been in. And I like the idea of having one little crappy card table there too, amongst the other kind of more professional looking stalls. Then I made a second layer to put the actual vendors, and there's the fishmonger. I put a fish in one hand, an axe, and not axe, hatchet in the other. Some people there selling whatever hippie things they're selling. And then I thought the card table should be kind of like a sleazy guy. Maybe it's like 3-Card Monte or some kind of scam thing. And he's like, everyone else seems to be surprised or annoyed by this kid running. And he's sort of like, hey, come on over here, kid. And then this sort of Rasta dude behind that one. Some shadows in the foreground to help push that away from the midground and the background. And then erase the ref. I'm really not giving a lot of insight on this one. I'm just literally narrating what I'm doing. I would put a little bit more shading in the back. This is the kind of stuff where I'm going way beyond roughs, or the whole idea of the different processes get really munged together. Since I'm the only artist doing everything, arguably I don't need as many processes as I use, but I know that I do. And then depending on my mood, I go more or less detailed on each step, which will then require me to do more drawing or less drawing later. And then here I went back, did a new gesture on him, and kind of started from scratch. And while still not perfect, it immediately started looking better than the last version, so that made me feel good. A lot of times I'll completely scrap and redraw something, and it'll come out looking worse or roughly the same. And again, not that this is light years ahead of where it was, but it's definitely objectively better, and subjectively as well. And I am the subject, and I subject you to hearing me say that it is better. And I think I actually zoom in, yeah. Mess around with his face, keep it a little bit on model. And this is a character that I did not design ahead of time. I just sort of roughed out, and then on the page I'm kind of designing him. But he's only, he's a minor character, so it's fine. He only needs to look okay for these few panels. Ah, that's my tea, Earl Grey hot. I hope you enjoy the slurping. The sad part is I do drink Earl Grey tea quite a bit, and the reason I started drinking it was because of Captain Picard on Star Trek. Just like the reason I started drinking cappuccino was because of Bruce Willis in Hudson Hawk. Imitatable behavior, friends. Anyway, I was happy with that panel. Next panel, there's an explosion. He's splayed out. What's going on? Here's some crazy Todd McFarlane Spider-Man fingers that don't quite make sense, but whatever. Actually, this whole pose is kind of like a crazy Spider-Man pose, but instead of being like in control, he's out of control because he's flailing out. And that foot in front twisted sideways reminds me of something, some other cartoonist, almost like an Archie character doing a wacky dance or something. I can't put my finger on it, but I was pretty happy with. I felt like it looked sufficiently bizarrely of an awkward pose without looking like a stereotypical flung in front of the explosion. And then there's smoke as well. There's this sort of big flash of the explosion and then smoke, and then put a couple smoke container at the bottom and other little things to indicate this is maybe more than just one flashpoint, as it were. Some shading, and I think I decided he should be bigger because in the next two panels, he was a little bit too close in size to the next panel, and so I whited out that version, copied it. The red is me giving him opacity so that he'll block out the background behind him so I can manipulate him, which is something I do all the time. Tilt him at an even wackier angle, and I might mess around with that in the final, but it's a lot closer to what I want it to be. And I have his hand breaking the panel, which, again, I don't do much, but I seem to be doing more and more. And then this is him on the ground. Shadow, coughing up smoke, hand in front of his face. What's going on? Oh, man, I'm unhappy. There's his leg. And just mucking around with how much shadowing I want. And then I have the two layers of smoke. There's sort of the foreground smoke near him, and then this background smoke. And then the shading is just to indicate where there isn't smoke and sort of make it look a little more dimensional. And then in the shadow, coming from the shadows are these soldiers, which I pulled up the reference for there. They're wearing the helmets. I think I gave them each different helmets. But I want these shadows to not be immediately recognizable as soldiers. And we've never seen these characters before. So I kind of roughly made it look like them and then put in some shadows, glowing eyes. I want them to look, monstrous. Are they robots? Are they demons? What's going on here? What's coming after him? And of course, because you're seeing this, spoiler, it's these soldiers. But for those of you that haven't watched this video and therefore would not be hearing me, there would be a bit of a mystery for a panel or two. But again, in these first couple pages, I just decided whatever's here gets spoiled for you guys, and very shortly I will stop showing pages. So enjoy these spoilages while you spoil can. All right, last panel. This is a really good big close-up as a hand comes through the cloud smoke cover right towards his face, and he's petrified, as we all would be. And this is another case where I only need a little piece of his face, but to get it correct, I find it easier to draw through the whole thing. And also, once I draw through the whole thing, I could decide to enlarge it or shrink it down and fit it in the panel more or whatever. I ended up pretty much keeping this shot, but had I wanted to, I could have used the part of the mouth I drew and things like that. I just adjusted his nose because I thought it looked too big, and he's supposed to be a younger guy, and I farted around with how much line I want to put on his face for expression versus how much it ages him. And then here is the kind of creepy hand, which again is like an armored hand, but I'm deliberately stretching the truth a little bit to mix it with perception and fear and smoke and shadow to make it look maybe more menacing than it really is in actuality, because we're seeing the perception that he has of this thing happening. And there again I put in the shadow of the rest of the form, which is just points and shapes behind the behind the smoke, and then busting through the smoke dynamically, the hand coming right at his face, very unfriendly like. And I think that's basically it. I forgot to record the process of the bubbles, but I did put them in, the speech bubbles and the other thing, which I'll fade to right a minute here. And that's it. Thanks.
So there's that. That was about 2 hours ish. And if you notice at the end, there was another final that came up with the red balloons for words and stuff, which I forgot to do. At the end of the 2 hours, I hadn't done that, and then I was waiting for Q to come home, so I just did a little bit extra work. So I probably did like 2.5, 2:45 today. Part of that was putting in the word balloons in red, which I didn't do in the process video, but I showed you afterwards, and I really liked the flow that was going there. I'm pretty happy with the page. And then I put in another, like whatever part of that half hour, 45 minutes, setting up the next page. I had to bring in some reference and things like that, and I think I just barely started doing one panel. I didn't put up any process, nothing worth showing, but it was more work I got done on page 5, that is. And that was my day. Afterwards, I went out and did things. I'm back from doing things. And yeah, so I guess that's it. What else? Patch Silver is back. He had not put up a video in a couple days, and I was getting a little nervous that he had fallen off the wagon. But he put up a video today saying he was still doing it. Everything's cool. So yay that, and link show notes, go. So done. 53. Day 53. And no, I'm not going to sing this time. And no, I'm not gonna. And that, no. It's day 53.
In the mean streets, we've got 47 days left.